Yeah, Melissa, it's a pleasure to be here with you finally, because I had the opportunity to read about your organization on social media, SOCO, which promotes the interests and the politics of students of color here at the University of Helsinki. So it was really serendipitous to be like in the student union and cafe and then bump into you as you are in a preparatory meeting for a conversation on decolonization.
In academia.
In academia. Yes. So it's mad, and I'm really excited to be here. So Melissa, Sende, can you just give us some background on SOCO as an organization and your leadership position in it? What are some of your responsibilities?
Well, SOCO is quite a young organization. It was created in 2019 because there was, students of color were experiencing really uncomfortable situations with maybe teachers and staff and other students using racist language during class and on campus, and nothing really happening. And just generally, I feel that the experience of students of color in the university has been it's kind of contradictory, because on the one hand you have the official discourse of the university, which is all about safer spaces and inclusivity, and then on the other hand you have the actual experiences of us students of color, which, to be honest, we don't feel like we're heard, we don't feel like we're listened to, we don't even feel like we're really asked about these things. And at the same time, you go online to the university's websites and you see all these stock photos with all these students of color, and the reality is, as you can see when you're looking around, we're the only two people that are brown here in this room. So that's where SOCO came from, to serve as a mouthpiece for its members, to advocate for just for anti-racism and anti-racist values, intersectional feminism and inclusivity. Those are the values that we operate on. And also just to create opportunities for us to feel safe and at rest, to provide a space for radical joy and networking and peer support.
Yeah, that's amazing. I really like the kind of critique you put forward of diversity, equity and inclusion. These stock photos, I wouldn't lie to you, moving around Finland, when I would see photographs of black and brown people in markets, and I was like, are these even Finnish people sometimes? I know some corporations obviously do, but it looks so stock photo-ish. It doesn't even speak to the reality of some of the people who have the economic agency to consume. So it's quite interesting in the university projecting itself as this kind of global brand and image. And I guess representing some of the students who are actually here behind that stylistic presentation, that aesthetic of inclusion.
Absolutely.
Politically, you don't feel like it's as meaningful. So what are some of the issues that students of color, and I'm assuming you're taking up black and brown Finnish students and migrant students, international students. I don't know if there may be refugees as well who are here, or asylum seekers. Can you speak to some of one or two issues that are most urgent at this time for students in your union?
I would like also to add into that scope of the people who are concerned by these issues, also indigenous people and Romani people, for example. So basically people from ethnic or visible minorities. That's how we've defined them in our rules, but we're also working on changing our rules, because we feel like that's not necessarily it's not maybe the best way to describe these people. But I think that right now in society we're observing this shift in the public conversation, that in Finnish society we're finally talking about racism in a way that we have never talked about it before. In the National Theatre, there is a piece right now going on, a play called For the Girls Who Thought They Were Alone, and it's about a Somali girl who has grown up in Finland. Like, she's the protagonist, and it's her story. And I went to see that, and I cried, because I couldn't believe it, in a way. Because people speak English to me all the time, wherever I go. I feel like Finnishness has been very exclusive as a concept, in many ways. And so, right now, we're witnessing this shift in the public conversation, but at the same time, heightened senses of maybe danger. People are scared of what they don't know. People are scared of seeing Finland change. People are scared of seeing Finland become less white. Different cultures. At the same time, we're also living in an age where the population of Europe is old. We need new blood here. We cannot really make it without. So I feel like we're at this kind of transition point right now where the change has already happened, it's already happening. There's no way to try and not make it happen. But there's a lot of people who are resisting that. And I feel like people who are visibly racialized, so not invisibly racialized, like white people, for example, we get the short end of the stick here. And when actually, in fact, we have a very important role in this transition, because we know what it feels like to be in this space between what is considered Finnish, what is considered not Finnish. And we have already created a whole life and a whole personality and a whole network of love in that in-between space. And it's not just an in-between space, as a matter of fact, it's a space in itself. And our whole society needs to embrace that, because I feel that the answers to the questions and the problems that we have right now in relating to each other in society, they're found in that in-between space. And in the people who have lived all their life in the in-between space and who have had to create their own sets of rules and guidelines and frameworks to be able to exist.
Yes, that's profound, and I think I really like when you talked about Finnishness as this exclusive concept, and I want to relate that to some of the ethnic, racial and cultural relations which I have observed in just under 1 month. You know, this society is highly planned.
Yes.
So, a periprotected practice, me walking, I would walk for 2 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours. Public safety enables that. But walking, I realize how much Finland is organized around lines. And when I walk and I look at the prices or read the menus for restaurants, a lunch might start from 13 euros and could go as high as 28 to 30 euros. And I ask, what non-national could afford that? Who does not move from the upper middle class or upper class to the society?
Yeah.
There's a kind of price on citizenship, an economic citizenship required for one to participate as an equal. There are immigration rules which require a certain capital base to prove their ability to become residents. So there's this finish line that is police. Because to become Finnish, you inevitably draw on the benefits of its public infrastructure, healthcare, education.
Yeah.
And the society might not, I don't know if it is as invested in assimilation, but through language, through the immigration management, through the production and consumption of what may be referred to as luxury goods outside of Europe, the place has a wall that blocks the other from participating. And that's one level. A second thing, I would see schools when I walk through communities, and if there was a single file line of 10 children walking out in the snow, and it's the cutest thing you'll ever see. 2 would be Asian, probably like Chinese. 2 would be
really?
Like Indian as well, and 2 would be black, like of African descent. And yes, I saw some. where the majority of those, so I don't know if that was children taking public transportation or people who lived in regions outside of that community. But I'm seeing Finland having to respond by the students enrolled in kindergarten or primary school care with the cute safety vests and little raincoats and winter coats.
Yeah.
That this society will have to contend to that at 16 years old and 20 years old. They will need literature. They will need more than one play about the girl who felt alone in National Theatre. They would need music. They will produce their Beyonce, Rihanna and Bad Bunny.
Yes.
Their language will inflect a Finnish one. So it's interesting that the society may be woefully unready
Yes.
to contend with not racial minorities, but Finnish children
Yes.
who are no less Finnish.
Absolutely. That is one of the biggest things I could rant about all day. How I feel that this society has failed its black and brown children completely. You know, I will always remember this. It was really shocking. It was a couple years ago. Finland had won the world championship of hockey or something, I forgot, of ice hockey. And so there's that kind of this cultural inside joke, let's go to the market when that happens. When you win the championship, people go down to Esplanade, and then they just stand there with all their flags, they get drunk, they party in the pool, whatever. And we went there with my roommate, just because, let's take a look, let's have fun. And so as we were walking around the block, we encountered this group of young people who they're trying to burn a Finnish flag with a lighter. Yeah. And so I stopped and I asked them, what are you doing? And the dude who's trying to burn it, everyone else is just holding the flag down. And the dude is trying to burn it and he's so frustrated. And he looks up at me and he says, fuck this fucking place, in Finnish. Fuck this place, these cops, they stopped me again for no reason, and just really angry. And I thought it was crazy that he was burning this Finnish flag and telling me why he was burning it in Finnish. And telling me I'm not Finnish. Fuck this place. And I was thinking, this is exactly how they make you feel. They make you doubt your Finnishness. They make you constantly have to... You're always on your toes wondering, am I Finnish enough for you? And the conversation is shifted to that. How can we do the assimilation? How can we assimilate you to our society? And not how can we assimilate to you being already here? And you being already a part of who we are.
Yeah. I think that is interesting because some of the academics I would have met here, scholars who even have an activist profile, they were so attentive to the difference that people had and the ways that they are marginalized, excluded in the social structure, public health care and so on, looking at aging, pension benefits. But my thing is, but these people share space. To render them as different or just to make it about how the system has a gap, you miss the point. It is about rethinking the polity, reimagining development. Absolutely. They are no less Finnish. Many of the people who I met of African and Indian heritage is just that, heritage, not citizenship. And they are a valid community of Finnish people. And interestingly, as a Caribbean person who is invested in the l'approfondissement de l'Amantiez, the deepening of the Caribbean soul, I am quite hurt to see the ways people who look like me, who come from my parts of the world, make themselves small. Their body language on the bus.
Yeah.
The way they walk on the street with their heads down sometimes.
There's so much violence,
To minimize who they are. To be finish, and this is not even an anti-finish line. This society has much to desire about.
Absolutely.
Which they see, which I see, which I think you see, and we were speaking about it.
That's why I'm here.
You know, the achievement in public security, the less militarized police, the quality education system. My God, yeah.
I have so much to criticize as well, because I do feel and think that Finland is kind of hiding, like surfing that, riding that wave and riding that high, surfing that wave of all these great accomplishments that we have. Kind of as if that's just a status quo now, when in reality, no, you have to constantly work on it, and you can't just always reform things and like leave kids to fend for themselves. Like, I've been a lot in schools working, and I can see that there's one problem. Kids think that they take it all for granted, you know? Which, I mean, good for them. It's better to take it for granted than to just yearn for something and you're never gonna get it. But in the end, is it really better? Because they grow up thinking that this is just how it is, and this is owed to me, and they stop wanting. They're not taught to take care of this. They're not taught that this is a system that you have to effectively cultivate every day, intentionally. They're just given it, and at the same time as they're given it, there's still so many lackings.
It's like when people see me and they want me to whine or dance or sing, you know. When your public reputation is singing, dancing, or cooking food, when you come to countries like Finland and Sweden, their reputation is development.
Yeah.
But what that may mask is the inequalities. And let's be real, when I walk far out, I see that 10%, that 15% of Finnish men in particular, who are alienated. I see them with their tattered winter coats, digging into bins for cigarette butts that still have a smoke in it, drinking in pubs, with angry rants of unaddressed mental health.
Yes.
So there is
Ask anyone here.
a Finnish person in pain who is not black or brown.
Ask anyone in the Finnish society. Do you know, or do you have someone in your family, or are you having a problem with alcohol and with silence? Everyone will say yes. Everyone. This is like one of the big ills that this society carries. I feel like it identifies so hard with the pain of the war that it's also a stereotype. Like, Finnish people drink a lot. Finnish people don't talk much. But people do hide behind that because it's collective trauma. And it's unaddressed.
Yeah.
And it keeps repeating itself. And it keeps being passed on.
Yeah. And in a way, the work that you do of breaking silences, understanding the trauma and the challenges people who have been rendered different and other carry, also liberates the Finnish person here who suffers in a silence.
Absolutely.
Who is rendered different because they don't meet what this economy asks of them, or only sees as legible and legitimate.
Absolutely.
So, in a way, there's these solidarities we are tasked with building. That, you know, is real, but you have to come with eyes to see it. It's
Yes.
amazing, you know, like I move around here, like, Finland helped me so much with self-care. Like, my skin is better, man.
Good for you.
Yeah, less oily food, man. I love my oil and salt and pepper. But I think we do too much, you know.
It happens.
And I just like your walk, the structure of the buildings, the disability access.
Yes.
And I think the beautiful things would be to see the mobility elders and senior citizens have, and how children move in the public sphere with less risk to them. So I'm learning socialities and mobility, which is important for me to carry home in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Absolutely.
But I also see, you know, I made a joke to a guy in a pub. He's like, how is it, you know, in Finland and stuff?
Yeah.
I said, bro, when I come to Finland, you would think black people love to cycle. I was like, why all these black people on bicycles? Wolt. They are workers, man. They are workers. I
Yeah.
Every time I pass it, I call it the headquarters or the embassy for African and Indian affairs. To see is interesting because I work in the public service back home. I don't know the extent to which the average Finnish worker and citizen negotiates with black authority or brown authority. Where a person who has a black or brown skin has a class position of authority. The majority of the workers I have seen here are bus drivers, cleaners, sanitation workers, hospitality staff in the back. Because university students might be the front staff in a cafe or a store. So it's interesting for me to come from a society where the prime minister is of African descent or Indian descent. The post-plantation economy where post-colonial state are black, governed by black and brown bodies. And I come here where I know I'm getting a little exoticized, or I don't know if it's a Bob Marley movie or whatever. People kind of glad the Rasta around.
Yes.
Roll eyes and a blush,
Of course.
But I also see, like when I was in a grocery and I was checking out the bread, all the bread I see here is like European, I don't know, I guess it's European bread. Some people only call quote-unquote fancy bread Italian bread. You think all the good bread from Italy. But anyways, that is a niche in the Caribbean where very elite people might consume that. That is not the norm in the majority experience. So I'm looking at focaccia bread and I see all the different types. And the cashier gets up, he leaves the cash register to stand up by my shelf to watch me.
Are you kidding?
And I told him I like bread. And he was just like, what is this man even saying? And with his arms folded. And I was like, that is the audacity he has. And I had to get a kind of class privilege check to realize you're not in a little island where you're moving around with comfort and dexterity, even though we have our own challenges.
Yeah.
In here, I'm a black body staying too long in this bakery line thinking about bread. And I didn't have permission to do so.
See, that's kind of the part of this racialization that I think I'm like.
Yes, our vibration. No, you don't cut it. This is Caribbean vibes here. We building. No, man, you don't cut me off. This is not Finland here.
Exactly. This, I mentioned earlier that in the public discourse and conversation we are finally talking about all this, but I feel like in a way we're kind of delegating all talks of racialization to black and brown bodies, as if it's something that just concerns them, and then us in the majority, white people, then we just have to kind of somehow take them into account, recognize that they're there, give them maybe space to speak, and that is already good. And that is how we're going to achieve an equal, moral society. When in reality what is completely out of the conversation right now is the fact that racialization is a process which applies also to whiteness, and actually first and foremost to whiteness. You said it before that, I forgot exactly what you said, but it kind of talked about how everyone needs to deconstruct this to construct something better together.
Yes.
And I feel like this is absolutely where we are stuck right now in Finland. It's that it's just outsourced to us. We need to be watched.
Wow.
We need to be, maybe sometimes we can be handed the microphone, but you will not see white people questioning their whiteness or questioning the class hierarchies that transcend race, even when we have a very right-wing government which is cutting a lot of money from all the poor people, basically, and who are now bringing a lot more people under the poverty line when our social security system would have taken care of more people. Even in a context like this, we are not talking about how all of those things are very linked to each other.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, that goes well into the decolonization question, which I see as a burgeoning discourse happening in the academy here.
Yes.
For me, it's interesting. Decolonization, where I stand on it, is also co-imagination, co-creation, and co-responsibility.
Yes.
people,
That's really good.
yeah, that we have to contend with our different complex histories
Yeah.
and co-imagine all groups. Martin Carter, the Guyanese poet, said all are consumed, all are involved. We have to co-imagine our reality, co-create in action, and be co-responsible for our space. And for me, that is the liberation, the emancipation, as we were discussing earlier, as important to the enslaved as it is to the enslaver.
Exactly. Yeah.
To free the society,
Absolutely.
to work together, because inequalities destroys all our lives.
And hiding from it, thinking that you're safe because it doesn't, you're not the loser in this situation. As if just the fact of you being a winner, which means that somebody else is a loser, kind of saves you from the trauma of hurting other people.
Yeah.
By just being and by pertaining a certain structure.
Wow.
There's so much pain that we inflict on each other that we don't look at, because people don't want to look at pain, and because our culture tells us that there are negative emotions and positive emotions, and the negative emotions, you should just control them, get a grip, get it together, compose yourself. Then you will feel happy. Then you will be successful. If you're depressed or sad or anxious, that's no good. You need to take some medications to fix yourself. When in reality, maybe it's a fucking information. Maybe your body is telling you that this way of living is hurting your psyche, it's hurting your humanity.
It's like you responsibilize pain, like that pain you carry is yours and yours alone.
Yes.
And not connected to the social structure and exclusions that you experience every day or navigate.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. I want to just kind of go to that place because I want to think through like how we could build it here. You said something about radical joy
Yes,
and a
I did.
network of love.
I did.
And I love that. Because in this life, I think it's Ocean Vuong, we're briefly beautiful here, It's short.
Yes.
But that network of love, that radical joy is so important to your politics. I would prefer it is connected to your intersectional feminist one as well.
I think it's connected to everything.
So just talk to me about
In
it,
the
man.
end, when you create an environment where you are safe and you can rest, your body calms down, your body recognizes that I have a place here, that I belong here. And I feel that this energy transcends anything. You can, kind of the same way as people say that, I think it's science, I'm not sure if it's just people say, but that basically I have my grandmother's energies inside me, because when my mother was in her womb, I was in my mother's cells also. And I feel like all this evidence about how trauma you have this trauma legacy through your DNA. I feel that that's also the case for rest and for empowering practices of like taking care of yourself. I feel like if you take care of yourself and your being, that will transcend time, that will create something that people can lean on. Everyone needs to take a chill. Everyone needs to rest. I have heard, even bad bitches sleep.
Yeah.
It's true. We all need to.
That peace and healing is not only possible, but is present in our lives.
Yes, it's present all the time, and we need to access it. We need to recognize that we have power to create our realities, and that there is also always peace within the chaos, and it is always accessible.
Wow.
And that we need to make space and time for joy and for gratitude in the midst of the fight and of the pain. Because first of all, that's kind of the only reason why the whole fight even makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But then also because you cannot go on forever. And also because you are so much more than the things you fight for.
That is right. You sound like a Caribbean person, man. You're enjoying your life.
You need to
chill, you need to carnival, you need to eat, you need to take a little beach. And you will unfair, so the cute ones just make it. And my mother and my father look good, so I come out looking good.
I was wondering, I'm looking at this society, and sometimes I'm just like, can we breathe?
Yeah.
Can we sing a little?
Yeah.
Can we dance?
Yeah. Yeah.
I dance on the street all the time.
Yeah, me too.
That's what people need.
Yeah.
They need to see us do that.
The traffic lights give you a nice dancing opportunity.
Absolutely. There's sometimes these black people, these black dudes who are playing this really big xylophone in front of the central station in the summer especially.
Yeah.
And they're just and really good percussion and stuff. And so every time I walk past, I always get this urge to go and dance.
Yeah.
And there's this huge ring of people always looking at them, maybe filming them or something.
Yeah.
Nobody is dancing.
Yeah.
It's let your body move.
Who can dance must dance.
You have so much energy inside you. You need to let it flow. You need to let this energy flow. I believe that if everyone danced more, and generally just didn't shrink themselves as much, we would be more at ease with each other. We would be more at ease with ourselves. We wouldn't feel the need to always police everyone else and everyone else's emotions, because we wouldn't feel. Yes, we wouldn't feel oppressed by our own emotions, because we would be welcoming to them.
Yeah.
We need to go, apparently.
I know, I realized the running late. Just the last thing here.
Yes.
Belgium.
Yes.
Stromae. Malgré toutes ces bouteilles de rhum, tous les chemins mènent à la dignité. That for me is like emancipation. Despite all the bottles of rum, all roads lead to dignity. What does that mean for you? I'm glad we connected on that when we first met. What does that mean for you?
To me, that means integrity.
Integrity.
To me, that means that you carry yourself in your life with pride, with values. That you don't shrink yourself. That you are not afraid to make mistakes or to take up space. You accept yourself as you are, and you answer to the calling that you have within yourself. To be yourself and to step into your light. To me, that's how it sounds like. Have you seen the music video for that song?
Yes, it's beautiful with families, like every family reunion.
Yes.
That's I know.
Well, I've never been to a family reunion like that.
You're invited to come to one in Finland today, man.
Thank you.
Plenty love, man. Step into the light, Melissa.
You too,
Thanks
man.
for everything.